Michele Robart here today with TMC News, and I'm here with our company president, Rich Tehrani. Rich, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Michele?
I'm great. So in the news today, Reuters reported that HTC could set out to purchase Palm, and that's pretty interesting news. What do you think about that?
Well, HTC did hint at an acquisition, and we should probably back up a little bit and talk to people who are watching about who HTC is. HTC is an Asian manufacturer of devices such as the XV6800. They probably came onto the forefront of production, or in the forefront of the world's attention, when they started working with HP and Dell to produce PDAs in the 2002-2003 timeframe. So they were really responsible for some really interesting devices, and from there, with their Windows mobile experience, they were able to, back then called Pocket PC, they were able to evolve from the PDA space into the smartphone space. And so now you see the XV6800, which is approximately a year and a half old. This is one of the devices they have, and you may have noticed that this looks similar to the new T-Mobile Google Android-based G1, and the reason for that is HTC also happens to make that device.
Right. Now, the CEO, Peter Chow, I think that's how you say it, he was saying that they expect to ship over 600,000 G1s. Do you think that's a high number? Or?
Well, when you figure the iPhone's shipping in the millions, I'd say the G1 is probably on track to, I mean, that seems like a relatively conservative number. I'd say it'll be in the millions by the end of 2009. I mean, the Google brand is obviously very popular. It's ubiquitous. It's used by people all over the world. Right. Subsequently, a phone that's quote-unquote a Google phone should basically have some built-in sales.
Now, the name behind Google, or a name like Google behind HTC, do you think Apple should be a little afraid?
Yes, I'd say that the G1 is a competitor, but just as important as the G1 is really the Android operating system, which allows a number of competitors to compete with Apple. And so what's going to happen is we now have an operating system that is backed by some big companies, and that operating system will allow small cell phone companies to launch products that kind of have the Google stamp of approval, indirect. And so what that means is that we are going to take some of the margin out of the cell phone business. And the challenge there is that a lot of these phones that are subsidized are relatively expensive devices. And now a company actually called ZZZ Phone out of China has about a $120 Google Android-based device. And it's not subsidized. So what's happening is margin compression because of an open operating system, which is equivalent of what happened with Linux in the computer market. You saw Microsoft having to compete and having to worry about losing business to Linux-based computers.
So if HTC does purchase Palm, do you think that will help Palm kind of bounce back in the market?
Well, let's look at this. Palm has had a very, very strong brand. I mean, they are, without a doubt, a pioneer in the handheld computing space. They did an unbelievable job in the late 90s, early 2000 timeframe. In the last 5 years, there's nobody that can argue that they haven't lost their way. I mean, they really are in trouble. I mean, that just goes without saying. They have few users, they have few people excited about their devices, and financially they've been struggling as well. So Palm's got problems. HTC is in a much better position because they've got a broad line of products. They've got mobile devices with screen resolutions of 640 by 480, which I happen to think is a fantastic thing because you can really see on your mobile phone. You can see with clarity and take advantage of that resolution. The Touch Pro and Touch Diamond, I mean, they have a whole suite of phones that are quite powerful computer-like devices. So I think the combination could be good. I think Palm on its own has got trouble. I think with HTC as a partner, they can do more with one another. But HTC probably needs to act quickly because Palm's not going to be in better position in a slow economy than they are now.
Right. It's interesting how with the current economy situation that everyone is kind of dealing with, how there's so many companies that are merging together and hopefully becoming stronger. But many companies like Nokia, Siemens Network, they're still, I mean, they're a huge corporation, and they stated that they would be cutting even more jobs next year, as well as other companies like Nortel in Canada. So it's hard for, I think, small companies to feel like they can even succeed in a climate like today. So what do you think about that? Do you think company mergers are a good thing right now?
Well, right now there is a major challenge across all sectors of the economy. There are people that are putting spending on hold, large spending especially. Carriers are some of the largest spenders in the communication space, and they're putting a lot of their spending on hold, which is why we've seen problems at Nortel, we've seen problems at Nokia Siemens Networks. Ericsson has had problems. Cisco, to some degree, is having problems. The last comments out of John Chambers were that he thought sales might drop 5 to 10% in the last quarter of the year. Yesterday, Cisco spooked the markets by saying they were going to shut down operations during the Christmas timeframe.
Yeah.
The stock lost almost 6% on the day. I actually blogged about it, and Cisco Corporate put up a comment directing us to their blog. So you could just go to Tehrani.com if you want to learn more, basically explaining what they're doing. So yeah, big spending is definitely being cut across the board. However, one of the areas of strength is going to be devices such as these. And analysts are predicting that there may not be growth, but there still should be relative strength compared to other sectors of the market.
Right. Now, do you think HTC will be kind of not affected by the economy? The CEO made a statement that he thought that they would be insulated from the economy and would not be affected by it. That's a pretty strong statement to make.
Well, on the one hand, we don't know what they have in the pipeline. They may have some really innovative products. Some of the latest technologies that they put in the phones with the great screens and the alliance with, or the reselling of an Android-based phone, those are tremendous positives for the company. But still, if there's going to be less spending, they will be affected. And the question is, where does the market share come from? You've got Nokia, you've got RIM, you've got Microsoft-based devices, you've got Apple. So I mean, really, and Sony Ericsson's in there as well. So the question is, where are they going to take the share from if the market's not going to grow? So if they're able to take share from Nokia, if they're able to take share from Sony Ericsson, and those two companies, and maybe a little bit from RIM, then maybe they're okay. I don't see anyone taking share from Apple the way things are going. If anything, Apple's taking share because they're relatively new, so they have more share that they can take, and they're carrying up the charts. So the thing that HTC has going for it is just they've got so many products. So it's possible that the company is positioned well enough to really be insulated from this downturn. I just can't see them growing a tremendous amount next year. But still, people are not giving up their cell phones. It's one of the last things to go. And they tend to like the number of HTC devices that are on the market.
So you don't think that people will cut down on their smartphone usage to reduce their bills or anything, even in a time like today?
Well, what we will see is, I mean, people are just so attached to their cell phones. It's that and things like their cable TV are things that are sacred. It's very tough for them to give those things up. So what they will do, and we'll see more of this, is people giving up their landlines. And so they give up their landlines and they'll use their mobile phones. And they'll realize, I'm spending $30, $40, $50 a month on this landline, I'll just use my mobile phone. So I'm predicting more landline decline in this environment, but people not parting with the mobile phones unless they really have to. And there's also another thing. I mean, you're talking about the younger generation. So let's say the 10 to 20 generation right now, millennials, whatever term you want to assign to that group of people, they are so used to using their devices for SMS and communicating with everyone via SMS, but also now social networking, Facebook, mobile Facebook. this is how they communicate. I mean, this is their way of communicating with others, and you just can't, you cannot pry that out of their hands. It's like putting tape on their mouth. You're not going to be able to do it. So it's going to be one of the last things that people give up. So I have optimism for the mobile device world next year.
Well, that's good news. Well, hopefully we'll see some changes, some positive changes in the market soon. With the holiday season coming up and Black Friday only 2 days away now. It'll be interesting to see what people are purchasing and where their money is being spent, for sure.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to reporting on it this weekend on my blog and next week as well.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Michelle.
From TMC Newsroom, I'm Michele Robart.
And I'm Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today.
Bye-bye.